gathered school supplies during the fall, and we were still collecting money and school supplies to send to Elem and her group of band students. Falani Afrika is a phenomenal woman. Now let's hear her story in her own words. Alexis, it's up to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Derby. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Dr. Derby. I don't know if I'm working, fixing a technological challenge. Thank you. Can you hear me now, everybody? Good. First of all, I just want to congratulate you on this phenomenal film. So let's give her one more round of applause. Thank you. And I didn't know about your support from Dr. Derby either. And one thing I want to add about my bio is that I'm an alumna chapter of the Dogwood City chapter of the Lynx. I don't think that's in my intro. So I have a great deal of empathy and passion about what the Lynx do for the community here locally as well as internationally. So I'm very proud to say that I'm a member of the Lynx Incorporated. Now, for you, how in the world did you find this young woman and come to do this film? It's a long story, but I'll try my best to make it short. My senior year, I met Rosanna Chagas, the sociologist that you see in the film. I met her at Howard, and she invited me to visit her in Salvador. So as soon as I graduated, the recession was like, it had just hit. And Oprah spoke at our graduation, and she was like, if you can't find a job, just travel. So I love traveling anyway. So when my friend invited me, and I told her, I said, when people invite me, I actually come. So I bought my ticket. It was super affordable compared to today. In November of 2007, I went during their Black Consciousness Month. And the first night there, she took me to the Pelourinho, which you saw in the film, which was also a slave market that imported millions of slaves from Africa. And so during the first night, she said, well, they've been gentrifying is what we call it. They've been gentrifying the Pelourinho for like the past 10 years, and over 5,000 families that live there have been pushed out, but there's a community that still exists that when they started getting pushed out, they saw some land behind the Pelo that just was trees, so they started going back there and building their homes like most favelas begin. And so this community has been there for 49 years. So on my first night, I went back there and I met Ellie's mom. And I didn't speak any Portuguese, but the mom's spirit really spoke to me. So I wanted to go back to say goodbye to her before I left, like 3 weeks later. And that's when Ellie was there trying to read my Bob Marley shirt in English. Izzy, dissy, lovey, that I'm feeling. And I was like, oh, you speak English? Because I was tired of hearing Portuguese. I couldn't understand it. So I was looking for people who spoke English. And I asked her, I said, tomorrow I have an evening flight, but I've been here a month with this camera. I don't know what I was doing with the camera, just filming stuff. But I said, could you show me around your community tomorrow morning before I leave? And so she said, yeah. So me and Rosanna went the next morning, and we went to her mom's house. She was making the beans for the day to sell. And next thing you know, Ellie started pulling drums down with the kids. So me and my friend was looking like, well, what's going on? I thought we was just gonna be shown the community. So she started playing and directing them. So we was like, is this your band? And she was like, yeah. So she was always thinking strategically, you know. She said, okay, this lady said, could she come film my community, but we're gonna put on a show so I can show her what's really going on. So after they played, I had my friend ask her some questions, and like I said, I didn't understand what was being said, but I could feel, you know, that she was very special. So I left that evening and I said, I gotta go back down there because I love the place anyway. So a lot of the times I use the film as an excuse to go back. And so I kept going back and just filming her. I didn't know what the film would become. It really took 10 years because it's an indie project, a lack of funding. But it worked out because now the audience is able to grow with her and see her evolution as a social activist through art.
Well, it just is fascinating to see that, and you usually don't see that length of time in a film project. Mm-hmm. What do you hope people will take away from it, from seeing this kind of development?
I hope that people would take away many things. One, Salvador, Bahia is not promoted much in the media and everything. So people know about Rio and Sao Paulo, but little people know about Salvador, mainly because it's pretty much all black, and Brazil is an extremely racist country that puts on a facade that it's a racial democracy. But when you get there, it's the total opposite. They'll say, oh, we samba together, look at Carnival, look at all of us together. But when you get there and you go to the favelas, you see it's predominantly black, and the power is in the hands of the minority white folks. So I want people to see and see about the Afro-Brazilian population there, but also to see of the great work that black women are doing in their communities to take matters in their own hands, because the government's ignoring them, NGOs ignore them, they pop up, they do a little something and then they disappear. So many people, also I wanted to change the stereotypes about favelas, because when we do see them in films or in the news, it's always negative, it's drugs, it's guns, but when you get there, it is regular hardworking people, you know, just like us, and it's not just drugs and violence. So I wanted to kind of change the narrative of that, and also to bring a voice to black women in Brazil. I can't remember, one lady spoke about the execution that just happened last week of Marielle Franco, and I didn't know her personally, but I was really affected and really sad, and my friends right now are devastated. One of the reasons why the subtitles have a lot of grammatical errors and stuff is because my team was out in the streets protesting, and I couldn't say, hey, put that to the side, like, we gotta make these grammatical changes, you know, to the subtitles, when it's a war on black folks happening right now as we speak. So when they spoke about the difficulties of just her being a Maestrina, you know, you can see the level. It's crazy, like the police would show up and beat her and the band members up, you know. So some things we couldn't put in the film because her life could be at jeopardy. We just saw what happened to the councilwoman, you know, in Rio. So I had to be sensitive of the fact, you know, that things could happen if I put some of the things that she said, you know, in the film. So it's really about showing the diaspora in the world that Brazil has, it's estimates of 89 or 90 million black folks. I mean, some people were checking off that they weren't black, but as the years go on, people are proud to say and check off on the census that they're black. I'm pretty sure it's over 90 million. But it's time that we start connecting the dots and see that our issues throughout the world are the same. It's just a different language and on a different continent.
Before I let the audience ask some questions, the question I have on the film, the housing development that was supposed to happen, has it ever happened? Or?
No. And as a matter of fact, a friend of mine who was working on the project, when I showed him the film, he was like, because they're so political down there, he was like, you've made a denouncement film, we gotta do this and do that. And so I was like, okay, I'm down to do it, but he was like, no, this film is, he said, I'm very embarrassed that I worked on that project, and up until today, there's no homes. And the government has been paying rent for 77 families for going on 8 years now. The housing could have been built, you know, with the rent money. So the sad reality is, it's kind of sad because some people came up to me, I screened it in Brazil, in Salvador, and they said, I had no idea that that community was even closed. So some people didn't even know that it's been closed, and so the film helped expose, because those people would just be scattered, you know, all around without anyone knowing. They still go to meetings, the government still lies and said it's happening, but I'm sure those funds are in the pockets of that small minority, corrupt, you know, government, and they're just sitting back, living life, and there you see. To me, the structure didn't even look like it could be housing for 77 families. Yeah, it's just little boxes. So unfortunately, nothing has been done, and I'm not sure that it will, because as they said, it's a favela community in the middle of downtown. So.
And now you've made me want to ask you another question.
Sure.
When you said you screened it in that community? Or?
Yes, not in Rocinha, in the favela community, because you can't get back there.
Okay.
They boarded it off, but I filmed it downtown, not too far from where Rocinha is.
And what did Elem think?
Oh, she loved it. Like, both of us were kind of surprised to see all the work that we've done, because it's been very humbling. A lot of times it's just me and the camera in my backpack. So when I brought my 2 crew members down to help me with the lights and all of that, that was different for us, because it's usually like super guerrilla style. And you know, it's been 10 years, so sometimes she would be like, girl, what are you doing? You keep coming down here. Where's the film? You know, so even myself, I'm like, okay, well, when is this thing going to end? How do I bring it together? So the both of us were amazed, you know, at the work that we did, because some of the footage I forgot about, and some stuff, you know, with her memory issues, she forgot. So it was really emotional for her to see her mom, and also very sad that her mom couldn't be here to, you know, see the film. But she's, you know, she's with us in spirit. So she really enjoyed it, because sometimes she gets really low without support and all of the adversities she's faced with. So her seeing her work on film, I think it inspired her, you know, more to keep going.
That's great. Thank you. We have time for a couple of questions from the audience. Please come up to the mic and introduce yourself and ask the question.
My question is, how do we get the word out, and where else can we hear about screenings in other places so that we can pass the word on? Also, can you repeat the website where we can contribute?
Absolutely. At the moment, the film, y'all really got an exclusive treat, despite the grammatical errors and all of that, but I'm going to enter the film into film festivals and certain competitions, because I've been putting all this money into it, but I still owe some of my post-production folks funds, and I would love to be able to use some of the funds that I win from the competition to give to Ellie for personal things. She's always struggling on a personal note. So with that being said, I'm applying to film festivals, in which I haven't heard back from any yet. But most likely, I won't have any community screenings like this one until next year after the film festival circuits, because a lot of them require you not to do public screenings. So I'm going to try my best to get around this one and say it was for my executive producers community, and it said public, but it was low-key private. So let's see, you know, what happens. But the website, if you guys have a pen, because I don't have any flyers due to lack of funding, the ones I ran out of, I wasn't able to print more. So let me know when you're ready, and I can. Okay, is it on there too?
Is it?
It may.
The website in the program?
Oh yes, it is. On the back of the program, at the bottom it says, for more information, you can visit atlantalinks.org, and then the website for the film, www.maestrina.favela.com.
Great. Great, wonderful. All right. Please, yes. You have to come. Oh. Come up. There's the mic.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Ellie's health issues and the support she gets from her family?
Okay, so in the film you saw that she has artervenous AV, who can pronounce? Okay, AV malformation. And so like they said, 7 years ago, she was diagnosed with this, and after we start editing the film, she actually had another stroke in September, and her sister was extremely afraid because the doctors have told them, you know, pretty much it's like she has a bomb ticking in her head, and she could die any day. I mean, all of us could die any day, but her knowing that, you know, so in September when she had the stroke, they were gonna go in and do some medical work, but she woke up and the blood started kind of draining on its own. And so, like the warrior she is, she just, you know, kind of continued moving forward. But she's awaiting, she's had 2 surgery procedures, but she's awaiting to have 2 more because it's 4 aneurysms. So basically they're going in to try to put some type of coil on them so that they don't burst. But unfortunately, like the medical system, even though she has a private health insurance, she goes to a good hospital, but she's still not treated well because the first time they did the surgery through the growing, the catheter and some of the material broke inside her body. The doctors didn't even tell her that it was there until the following year when she went to get an x-ray for the next procedure. The x-ray technician said, take off all of the chains. And she said, I don't have any chains. And he said, it's some metal floating around in your body. So she went to do another surgery procedure with the same doctor who's supposedly the only doctor in the whole state that does this form of surgery. They go in again on the opposite side. She said, now this time when she woke up, her memory was kind of still intact. And so she said the doctors was joking. One said, oh, now it's like you have antennas because guess what? The other one broke in this side of your body. So I'm down there, I'm like, that's malpractice, Monica, to her sister, like, this is not right, y'all gotta do something. But unfortunately, the people there feel defeated. The sister was like, I mean, what are we gonna do? He's the only doctor that does it here. She needs 2 more. And so then they said, well, since 2 things broke on both sides, now we can't go in that way for the next procedure. So we may have to do some type of chemo type, radiation type treatment. So up until today, you know, she has complications. I don't know what could be done. I try my best, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know, but let's just do what we can. And she's on a medication. She does have headaches and dizziness. She has vertigo as well. And so if she doesn't take this medicine, she does have headaches, and she can't be in the sun a lot. And so to me, she's amazing because she still goes out and does the work that she does, and still drumming, and to the extent that some people don't think that when she says that she's ill, some people don't think it's true because she doesn't, you know, wear it on her sleeve. But I think a part of that is what keeps her going, is that she doesn't feel like, oh, I have this, I have that, you know. So hopefully, I'm not sure when the next surgery procedure is. Honestly, I think they're trying to wait to see. Because I said, well, why can't they remove the stuff? And they said, well, they can't, that it would disseminate in her body. Just all types of bogus stuff. But hopefully, you know, we can try to do something. I'm not sure, you know, if we can bring her here. It's very complex, you know, because if she comes here, the government, the Brazilian government won't pay for her health insurance, and who knows who will pay for it when she gets here. So we'll just keep accompanying her and praying and doing what we can do, you know.
Right. It may require some sort of news story.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta has CNN, so I might want to consider something.
Yeah.
We only have time for 2 more questions.
Okay.
I'm going to go with you and then over here.
Okay.
So when Ellie saw the film, how did she think that the film could help her in that work? And is she thinking at all about institutionalizing in any way with the work she's doing, or would that take away from it? So, like, how does it fit into her plan?
I left that out. About my main goal was to really finish the film, to show people, because it's one thing to just talk and say, hey, I know this girl in Brazil, but I said if I can finish the film to show people the importance to get a news story or to get something so that she can gain the support that she needs, you know. Unfortunately, the Secretary of Culture, these folks, everyone, if you're a part of this Pelourinho community, you see her doing the work. So some people came up to me, a lot of grown men crying, and they was like, oh, I've seen her over the years, but I didn't understand how important, you know, her work is. So I really want to use this film for her to gain the support that she needs, because she does want to have a music school, you know, but it's kind of hard to, she dreams that big, but it's hard to kind of see it if, you know, you're struggling, your country's in an uproar. Like, to me, 10 years ago, it looks like the black population was progressing just a little bit. But now, each year I go back, it's worse. It's getting worse. So hopefully, my goal is really for this film to expose her so that she can gain the support from Brazilians and, you know, from over here.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, Falani, first of all, as a Brazilian, I want to thank you so much for a beautiful documentary.
You're welcome.
It's very important to be able to show other sides of Brazil that nobody sees.
Mm-hmm.
But I was curious to find out if there was any follow-up after the meeting with Carlinhos Brown,
Mm-hmm.
because he's such a powerful guy in Brazil, you know, and in Salvador, he has a school, he has all those tools that
Yes.
he has at his disposal. Was there any possibility of a partnership or a way of helping her? Did he offer to do anything to help her out?
He actually, he did. After we did the interview, he said, hey, call me if you guys need anything. But ironically enough, a week after we did the interview, we had to kind of keep the interview private so it could be exclusive for the film. But she started attending, he has a music school in his community, so she started going to classes there. And so somebody was like, did Carlinhos hook that up? But no, he didn't. Somebody else that she knew hooked it up. It was just ironic, you know, that she started. But like she said, sometimes she starts studying, but then her health complications come in. So it's kind of like back and forth, and her short-term memory is really, really, really bad. So it's difficult for her to study if she's going to read text and then forget it, you know. Not all professors are going to be like, oh, her memory's bad. So once again, that's why I wanted to finish the film, because Carlinhos, he did it on the strength of him being a human. He doesn't even know, you know, how impactful her work is. So his assistant was there at the screening, and so I'll follow back up. I just had to concentrate on finishing the film, which could be more powerful than me just saying, hey guys, like this is that, can you help me? So we'll see what happens. Someone else?
I think we're going to have to wrap it up now.
Okay.
Let's give her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we come to the close of our program, thank you again for being here.